Hi, welcome back to the Net to Net podcast with Sam Kelty, Casey Kirsch, and Caleb Kirsch. Today on our NBA Net to Net podcast, we're doing it a little bit different than just talking about the news. So we're going to hand it off to Caleb.
Yeah, so today we're going to be doing a more of a debate style podcast. Going to pin these two guys up against each other and a couple questions. And you guys in the comments, you guys can say who you agree with on which one. Put your views. If you disagree with both of them, could be put in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. And yeah, so first question, the question that all great NBA fans, podcasters, news channels, all that ask at some point, who is the greatest player of all time in the NBA? We'll start with Casey with this one.
LeBron James. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time. Obviously, you look at he passed the all-time scoring record this past year. He's also top 10, or he's also top 10 in rebounds and assists. Will be for the end of his career. I believe he's top 5 in assists now. LeBron with his 4 rings, his 4 MVPs, 4 Finals MVPs. All-Star Game MVPs. He led 3 different teams to championships, winning Finals MVP for all of them. That being Cleveland, Miami, and Los Angeles. The first player to ever do so. LeBron James is just far and away the best player of all time, just because he does everything on the court. He has 0 weaknesses in his game. Unlike Jordan, he can lead a bad team to the finals. He has the most finals appearances in a row other than Bill Russell in NBA history, that being 9. He dominated the whole 2010s. He dominated the 2000s, and now he's still going at it in 2023, going into his 21st season. Okay, let me say that one more time. 21st season. He is just the greatest all-around player of all time. He's the greatest scorer of all time, and he's also one of the great defenders of all time. There's 0 weaknesses in his game. He's better than Jordan in most areas. You might say Jordan's a better scorer, and that's fine, but he's not really better at anything else. Maybe defending, but that's pretty much it over LeBron.
Yeah, all great points. And I'm not saying LeBron isn't one of the best players of all time, probably second best, but it's Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Michael Jordan, six-time champion. That's 2 more than LeBron. Closest to him would be Kobe. Kobe's got 5. Michael, 2. Let me get that. 2 three-peats from 91 to 93, 96 to 98. Yes, he did take a little break off from 94 and 95 because he wanted to play baseball because his dad always wanted him to become a professional baseball player, so he did it because of his dad. And then the lockout, he came back and he balled out. He is a 6-time Finals MVP. 6. He is a 5-time NBA Most Valuable Player. LeBron has 4. Yes, LeBron has more All-Star appearances due to the fact that he's played longer. He has 19. Jordan has 14. Still a great accomplishment, 14 All-Star games. Let's remember, LeBron does not have a DPOY Player of the Year. Most people don't know. If they don't know, it is Defensive Player of the Year. Jordan has 1 Defensive Player of the Year and it was 1987-88 season. This is even before the three-peats, the multiple three-peats. This is before the 90s. He is a 10-time NBA scoring champion. He is a 3-time NBA steals leader. he has 10 all-team first teams. Yes, LeBron has more due to the fact that he's played longer. I'm not saying taking that away from him. Yes, he's played longer. If you look at it, LeBron has 6 all defensive first teams, 5 first teams, and 1 second team. Michael has 9 first team and 0 second all defensive second teams. Michael is one of the greatest of all time. He is the greatest. If you look, they both have done it. They're both 2-time Olympic champions. But if you look at it, like Casey said, LeBron's longevity, he is the scoring title, all-time scoring champ. He might, I believe, in rebounds there soon. But if you look at it, you're looking, yes, LeBron's been to the finals more, but he's lost more. Michael has not lost a final in the NBA championship. And I do believe that Michael has never gone to a Game 7 in an NBA Finals. Michael has 6 finals wins. Yes, if we look at it at trophies, Bill Russell has the most. But next is Michael, not LeBron. Yes, LeBron has played multiple years. You can say that longevity, but you can say the same thing about Kobe. Kobe played long. Vince Carter played one more year than LeBron. I think he's played. LeBron, I think, is in his 20th season, if I'm
He's
correct.
going into 21. I think Vince Carter also played 21 seasons.
Yeah, I think Vince
LeBron,
Carter. Yeah.
LeBron's expected to play 22 or 23 seasons. So
yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Yes, LeBron. I would honestly say LeBron, and even with LeBron, has been on better teams than Michael. Yes, you have Scottie Pippen, one of the best duos, him and Michael. But you look at the Miami Heat, you have Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Yes, we had Dennis Rodman, who was Dennis Rodman, great player, one of the best rebounders of all time. He was very old. He wasn't. It's not like you got Dwayne Wade and LeBron at his peak. Dennis Rodman was very old when he came to Chicago. Dennis Rodman, really, they kind of got him for cheap. Let's be real. He was pretty old when he came.
Okay.
He was also he wasn't young when he came into the league to begin with, but when we got him, he was very old.
All right. So, Casey, going over back to you. So what's your thought process on Sam saying here that LeBron had a better team, and I think an assumption that many LeBron fans make is that LeBron had a tougher time going to the finals every year, tougher competition. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I wouldn't say he had a tougher time getting to the finals just because LeBron was so great. He dominated that Eastern Conference for his whole career, really. And then he dominated the West when he went out there. But, I mean, you look at LeBron and you think of one word: longevity. Longevity, right? He didn't need a break like Jordan needed. Jordan needed 2 years off to go play baseball and go focus on something else, right? He didn't need a break after 98 when his body basically broke down, and he refused to play for any other coach besides Phil Jackson, who was the greatest coach of all time. We don't remember any of LeBron's coaches being the best of all time or even near that discussion. So that's another thing. Another thing, Michael Jordan never made it out of the first round without Scottie Pippen. And to need a top 20 player of all time to get out of the first round, that's a big question mark that many Jordan fans seem to overlook, along with having the greatest coach of all time. Yet you say Dennis Rodman, he was a great rebounder. You forget to bring up he was one of the best defenders of all time as well. One of the best rebounders and defenders. And at that point, that's kind of all you needed from a player in that position. Scottie Pippen, also one of the best defenders of all time. Jordan also himself was a great defender too, meaning that they couldn't really score on many people. They had Ron Harper as well, also one of the greater defenders in that era. They still had players like Luke Longley, who's another good defender. Their team really was well-rounded around Jordan. I don't know how you think that LeBron had better teams. Maybe he had some great players, some All-Stars, some All-NBA players around him. But you look at what Scottie Pippen did when Jordan left in '94 to go play baseball. They were the second seed without Jordan. Okay, the second seed. Okay, Scottie Pippen was second or third in MVP voting that year when Jordan was gone. And that just proves how good of a player Scottie Pippen was and how much Jordan needed. Another thing,
They finished second and third in the division, but they finished third overall in the Eastern Conference and fifth in
they were
94.
third. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that was division. That was only in their division. They finished second and third in division. They finished third and fifth overall in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought it was second, but they were third in the conference. Okay, that year when Scottie Pippen got, I think it was second or third in MVP voting that year. But when it comes to LeBron James, his body has never broken down. Really, I mean, you think about he had maybe a few injuries these past couple of years ever since he turned 37, but even before that point, he was one of the most durable players of all time. And he didn't need breaks like Jordan did to help his body recover. He didn't need time off like Jordan did to get back in better shape, right? He didn't have these issues off the court like Jordan did, distractions for the rest of his team. LeBron has been a great leader as well throughout his career, also with many of the players changing teams over and over and over with this new wave of player movement. LeBron has played with different teammates, unlike Jordan, who had a steady foundation with the same coach in Phil Jackson. Many of the same role players, like you see a Steve Kerr or a Scottie Pippen, who were a lot of the foundational pieces around that Phil Jackson triangle system, which at that point he revolutionized that basketball system along with Ted Winters, who was the organizer of that system to begin with. But Jordan himself had a better foundation than LeBron did. LeBron had to switch teams because he had incompetent franchises that weren't willing to build around him. And as soon as he went to those teams, he was able to uplift them, even if they didn't have great players all the time, to go into the finals. You look at the 2014 Heat as an example. LeBron was nearly at the peak of his power still, and D Wade was declining, Chris Bosh was declining, and they really didn't have any depth at that point because a lot of their players had gone out to other teams and gotten these big contracts because they were on those championship teams. You look at him in 2018 when LeBron wasn't at his physical peak anymore, but he was at the height of his basketball IQ, leading a horrible Cavaliers team to the NBA Finals, beating a almost 60-win Toronto Raptors team, which every analyst picked Cleveland to lose. They beat the Boston Celtics team coming up, and although they lost to the Kevin Durant and Steph Curry Golden State Warriors, he dropped 51 in that first game, and if it wasn't for a George Hill missed free throw or a J.R. Smith blunder, they would have won Game 1 and possibly more games than that finals run because LeBron James punched a locker after that game because his teammates were so incompetent. But overall, this is getting to the point where LeBron James is the best leader in basketball, he is the best player in basketball, and he's the most durable player in basketball. Those three things combined are something Jordan could never do.
I don't know about that. Like you said, first of all, let's go back to you saying stable position. You look at the likes of stable position with a coach. He had a stable coach, Eric Spoelstra, for 4 years. Spoelstra is probably has the best story of starting out in the organization as a video coordinator and making his way all the way to becoming one of the best coaches in the NBA right now, and could, once it's all finished, become one of the best NBA coaches, like a top 10. Maybe, would you agree with Spoelstra being a top 10 once it's all said and done?
Maybe
for what he's done.
eventually. I wouldn't say now, but maybe eventually.
No, yeah, I said once his career's all done.
He's
is what
still
I'm
a young
saying.
guy, so he could
Yeah,
be
yeah,
coaching
he's
for
still
another
young, so
15
he could be there for
years.
a while.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and you have a good coach. Yes, he's not a Phil Jackson. I'm not saying he is the same as Phil Jackson. No. Yes, we had a good we have a good organization. Jerry Krause, yes, is a good general manager.
Yep.
But I would have to argue that Pat Riley might be a better executive. Pat Riley, you look at how he's done as a coach and as a executive for Miami. He knows he's very smart. He's very good at building teams. Like he knows how to build around his teams. And you say like yes, Dwayne. I wouldn't even go to the fact of saying Dwayne Wade was declining. Dwayne Wade was still a very top tier player.
Oh, I
on
wasn't
those
saying he
Miami
wasn't a
teams.
top tier player. He was declining though. He was getting worse. His athleticism was going down. His defense wasn't as good. His shot wasn't as good. His points were down. His assists were down. His rebounds were
Well,
down.
I think
mean,
that
that's the
happened. Well,
definition of declining.
you know that, but okay, but you say declining, but that happens when you bring a player like a ball dominant player and LeBron James and a ball dominant and a guy like Chris Bosh probably took the most hits because you're going to a guy that has to have the ball in his hand a lot, who can score the basket better than him. So yeah, your points are going to decline and they'll fluctuate. Just like how you brought up saying Pippen's numbers went up because Jordan left. Dwayne Wade had insane numbers before LeBron got there. LeBron gets there, Bosh doesn't have the ball a lot in his hand compared to when he did before LeBron came. And the same thing with Pippen. And you talk about the impacts of that. Yes, I'm not saying that Michael was a better leader. I'm not saying that. I think LeBron was a better leader. And it's obvious. People like LeBron more than Michael. It's obvious. But as a pure winner and who was clutch in the most clutch times, you think about that, like you brought up like how LeBron had a really bad team that he dragged to the finals. You forget about he dragged them in the playoffs, but to get to the playoffs, you have to play good in the regular season. And they had Kevin Love, they had Kyrie Irving, they had good role players and like J.R. Smith. Like, are you trying to tell me like yes, the Bulls had Michael, Pippen, a 34-year Rodman who really didn't give you scoring, he gave you defense and rebounding, and that's what you need. But then outside of that, yeah, Tony Kukoc was good, but you have the likes of J.R. Smith, who knew his role, a sharpshooter, Mike Miller, Iman Shumpert was young and gave you a spark off the bench. Tristan Thompson gave you a spark off the bench. Sean Merriman was a really good veteran presence. So you have a collective team around him that came together.
Sure.
And if you look at those bench, if you look at those bench pieces, those bench pieces are probably better than a Luke Longley and a.
I'm picking Luke Longley over Tristan Thompson, bro.
PJ Armstrong. Well, you also have to look. You also look in the eras they played in.
Yeah.
You look, and this debate happens every time when we talk about who's the greatest center, who's the greatest shooter, who's this and this. You look at the errors, and that's why it's a hard thing. That's why you have the likes of me saying that Jordan's the GOAT and you saying that LeBron's the GOAT. You look at the eras they played in, it's a different style, more physical. You could get away with a lot more. You could pretty much armbar a guy in Jordan's era and not get called for it, and you armbar someone in the NBA now and you're getting a technical like Draymond does every other game.
I understand. I'd like to cycle back to a question real quick. So you made a claim that LeBron had Kyrie and Kevin Love as his players that made the Cavs good apart from LeBron, and then the role players. Kyrie Irving, is he better than Scottie Pippen? And is Kevin Love better than Dennis Rodman? On both those questions, I would say no. And coach-wise, you have Blatt or Ty Lue versus Phil Jackson. The main key parts alongside with them all go Jordan's way. So that's just something I would say. What do you think of that one?
Right. Well, the other thing about that, though, is Sam brought up a lot of the role players that were on that 2016 championship team. but they did win the championship against the greatest regular season team of all time, and the Golden State Warriors as a 73-9 team, right? And a team who hadn't lost 3 in a row for multiple years, and they do in the finals against a LeBron James team who is averaging 30 plus points per game, right? And he had a triple double in the finals, the first ever to do so, right? You just look at that. Once LeBron actually had good teammates around him, he wins, and when he doesn't, he doesn't. So he at least gets to the finals without great teammates, but everyone needs players, good players to win. And as Kale brought up, Scottie Pippen was better than Kyrie Irving, and Dennis Rodman was better than Kevin Love. It's just that simple.
Yeah, but I know I'm not saying that they're not better. I'm not saying at all that Kevin Love and Kyrie are better than Pippen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm
Yep.
saying is when I'm saying it to the fact that you have LeBron or you have Michael and Pippen who can get you 20 a night, right? You would then have Dennis Rodman, who's supposed to be your third big three, right? Your big three. Your Dennis Rodman, who's
Yep.
maybe putting up 5 points, 6 points a game, and having to.
But he would average about 18 rebounds a game.
Yeah. So I'm saying it like kind of like I want to say fully cancels out, but it kind of like evens it out a little bit. Like the rebounds are there, but the points aren't there. But what I'm saying is, Michael had to do a lot more because he didn't have all this scoring punch and stuff around him like LeBron has. Because you have, if you look at like Casey brought up the year they won the championship in 2016 with the Cavs, just the Cavs, you have LeBron averaging 25 points a game. You have Kyrie Irving averaging 19 points a game. You have Kevin Love averaging 16 points a game. DeHoney Jones was, for some reason, only played one game but scored 13 points. So crash him out. But then you have J.R. Smith averaging 12.4 points, who is shooting 40% from the three. Like you have at least a few other players that could come in and give you points. Like Iman Chopper could come in and give you 10 points a night. Tristan Thompson could give you maybe a double-double or not, depending on how much minutes he played. Matthew Dellavedova, good leader, good defensive player, could come and give you points if needed. So you're looking at it, you're seeing that the Cavs, that team, they had a lot more to work with than if you look, because the Bulls teams were pretty much the same for the three-peat. So if you look at Chicago, let's take
Here's
the
one thing I would like to ask you,
year.
Sam. I'd like to ask you a question real quick. In the playoffs and the big high-intensity games, role players are not as valuable. They don't play as much. They don't do as
Role
much
players
as they
don't
would in like a role.
play as much.
In the playoffs, stars play 35 to 48 minutes a night. Role players play maybe. It depends on if you're on the bench or a role player on the starting lineup.
And I'm not saying that.
Your argument the role players in these tough games for LeBron, they don't. I mean, apart from Dellavedova and J.R. Smith, the other ones didn't really play as much.
Hold on, let me pull it up real quick.
They had Luke Longley averaging 9. They had Scottie averaging 20. They had Rodman averaging 6. They had Kukoc averaging 13. Ron Harper averaging 7. Steve Kerr averaged 8. And Bill Wennington averaged 5. That's probably about the rotation. And then Jordan averaged 30 in 1996, which is probably their best year as a dynasty. Getting over, I think that was their 72-win season. But yeah, Jordan, I mean, he had to do a lot scoring wise, but that's just kind of the way he played anyways, right?
Yeah.
They would give him the ball, he would ISO, and he would just make something happen, really. And that's kind of the way they built the team around him because he was so good offensively and scoring wise, because they put a lot of good defenders around him. Because they didn't really need that many scorers. Whereas LeBron, he's a great playmaker, so you need shooters around. The blueprint with LeBron is always put shooters around him, right? And they did that. And the same with Jordan, you put defenders around him, and they did that, and rebounders. So, I mean, both the team, like when LeBron in 2016, he had an optimal squad around him, and Jordan in 96, he had an optimal squad around him. Overall, I think LeBron has just carried bad teams to way farther than they should have been. I mean, you look at 2007 when they had Ilgauskas and you had Big Z, and you had you didn't even have Mo
Well,
Williams at that point. Like it's
No,
just you
no,
haven't seen it.
Mo was there. Mo was
No,
there.
I think he was there in 2008. I don't think he was there in.
Let me look. Yeah, kind of going back to what Caleb said about role players not playing. Richard Jefferson was a role player, Kirsch, and he played
True. Yeah.
24 minutes a night. That's not low for a role
Yeah, he
player.
was.
He
Mo
played a
Williams
decent
was
amount.
traded August 13th, 2008 to the Cavs.
And you
So
and
that's
you look
good.
at you look at it like Kyrie Irving played. Kyrie was a starter. Jr. started. Thompson started. Richard Jefferson only started 2 games and played all 7 games. Kevin Love played all but 1 game. Richard Jefferson averaged 24 a night. Iman Shumpert only didn't start a single minute, but he played 18 minutes a night. So like you're looking at some of these role players. Like role players, if you think about it, like you said, they don't play that much. Yes, they don't play that much, but then there are those role players that do play a certain amount. And I
Yeah.
think if you look at it, there was a more trust with the Cavs roster than there was with the Bulls roster because they had the set players that had to play minutes. Casey, did you find out if Mo Williams did play for them?
It was in 2008, so it was after they went to the finals that year.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm not saying that yet. This Cavs team, the first Cavs team was good. No all means no. That Cavs team should not have. That is one thing that I will give you that LeBron is good at, and that is dragging a very crappy team to the finals. And they
Well,
did.
he's done it more than once.
The crazy thing about
But-
LeBron dragging to the finals, though, is there's only 3 franchises that have more finals appearances than LeBron James himself. 3 franchises.
But Michael has more.
He does not have
Win.
more
He does
finals.
not have
Has
more
more
finals
wins.
appearances. He does not
Yeah.
have more. Yeah, he's
But
wins.
what would you rather have? More finals appearances or more finals wins?
You're the one who brought up Bill Russell in this argument, dude. Like
I never did bring up Bill Russell.
yes,
You
you did.
did.
You brought it up in your opening statement that Bill Russell.
I
you
brought
look
it up
at-
as an example of I'm saying how people look at. I'm not using Bill Russell's argument for this debate. I just brought it up as like it's kind of like just
right
like
because championships aren't everything when it
Excellent.
comes
Yeah,
to being
if
the
we
best
made
player.
the Bill Russell argument, then he would be the best
Yeah.
player.
But then, Kirsch, if you look at it, Kirsch, like you said, you guys said he's brought multiple bad teams. His first NBA title that LeBron dragged to is a major drop off from the one that he dragged to the finals and they lost to the Warriors in his first year back in Cleveland. It's like this. Here's the 2014 Cavs roster.
I'm making
Here
an argument
is
about.
like
My argument
here
would be
the 07.
2007 and 2018. with
2018 roster was significant.
George Hill starting, Kyle Korver, like
Okay,
Team-
who's better? Kyle Korver or Alexandra Papovich? Who's better?
Kyle Korver.
Who's better? By far, Damian Jones or George Hill?
Are you arguing if the 2007 team is worse?
The 17, the
No,
7.
I'm saying both teams are pretty bad. I'm not saying one
No,
worse than the other.
you can't compare the two because the one team is a lot better than the
I
07
think
squad.
2018 team was better, but I mean
By
you
a
have to admit
lot.
that Kevin Love did like nothing in that whole playoffs.
Yeah.
So like
Okay, and at least he's like the 07. You can't you can say it's a bad team, but you can't compare it to the 07 squad because the 07 squad is horrendous.
No, I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying they're both pretty bad squads in terms of.
But they're not
we're
even-
getting a little off
But they're
topic.
not even close. They're not even
We're-
close though.
So we're basically debating LeBron against LeBron here. Like we,
Yeah.
I mean, Sam,
When
that's
you
kind
don't
of like
have a
saying-
debate, you change it to LeBron.
No, I was just getting off topic because we started talking about squad. how bad the squad was.
you got off
But
topic.
if you look at it, Michael never lost an NBA Finals. LeBron has lost multiple NBA Finals. Michael has 6, and you play to win an NBA Finals. You win to win you play the game of basketball to win the NBA championship. LeBron and Michael are two of the best to do it, and Kobe and Bill. Michael has 6. LeBron has 4. Michael was, I think, yes, LeBron is a better overall player, but defensively and scoring, Michael was better. And that's what you need to win championships. He did it himself, pretty much. Yes, yes, Pippen did it a lot. Pippen was great at it. So you can look at it and be Pippen helped a lot. It was Pippen and Rodman and Michael, and then pretty much everybody else. And then you look at it as it's LeBron, Kyrie, K. Love, Thompson, JR, Shump. You have those guys, Richard Jefferson. You have those guys that actually you could trust. You couldn't really trust. You could maybe trust maybe Steve Kerr and Kukoc, and that's really it. To have the ball in his hand, Michael had to drag that team. And you look at it. Yes, you're like, oh, Pippen stats were all up, and they finished. You said they finished 3rd and 5th without Michael. They finished higher with Michael, as they needed Michael because they finished 3rd and 5th. When Michael came back, they finished 1st every time. In those 3-peat years, they finished 1st in their division every year, and they also finished 1st overall in the Eastern Conference. All but once, they finished 2nd in 92-93. If you look at it, LeBron did sometimes win. Either, let's say, when he was in Miami, they didn't win the Eastern Conference. Chicago did. If you look in 2017, 2018, they finished 4th. So with LeBron, you can see the impact that they had with Michael, that they needed him because they weren't winning games with him. They couldn't get over New York. They couldn't get over Orlando without Michael. So the impact of taking your best player out of your team, you couldn't substitute it for the players they had around him.
Okay. Well, for my closing argument, I'd like to end it off with a few facts for you. Number 1, LeBron James is the only player to average a triple-double in the NBA Finals. LeBron James is the only player to win multiple championships with 3 different teams. He has 4 championships, 3 teams.
Michael did
LeBron James is the youngest player to get 1,000 points, 2,000 points, 3,000 points, all the way up to 38,000 points, the youngest player for every single one of those milestones. LeBron James is the only player to average 25 points per game in 16 straight seasons, and I believe it's more even now. I think this article was posted a few years ago.
Wait, what did you just say?
LeBron James is the only player in NBA history to average 25 points per game in 16 straight seasons. LeBron James is the only player of all time in top 10 in points, rebounds, assists, steals in the playoffs. LeBron James is the all-time regular season scorer and playoff scorer of all time, okay? And Michael Jordan needed some time off in order to recuperate his body, make sure he was actually able to stay at the same level. LeBron James kept playing year in and year out.
Okay, when you say Michael took time off because he had to recuperate his body, that's not what it was. Michael, so
that wasn't the main reason, but that was definitely part of it, don't you think? He needed
no,
some time
it had nothing to do with it.
Did you watch The Last Dance?
I watched Last Dance. Did you not listen? So here it is.
I know his dad died. He wanted to go play baseball. His dad died.
He said in 90 the last year they won it.
Right? He said during those finals,
92,
his body was broken down and he needed some time anyways to recover. He needed some time, right?
Yeah, because he was pushing his body. Yeah, because they were going for a 3-peat, so they had.
What I'm saying is LeBron has gone that year in and year out for 20 straight seasons and has never taken any seasons off like Jordan did. No,
The year they missed the NBA playoffs. Did you think
was
him
injured,
missing?
Not
dude.
taking a
He was
season
injured.
off.
No, I'm just saying this. Him missing the playoffs. Do you think that helped him win the finals next year because he was able to rest and not have to worry about playing so deep? He needed that break.
No, if you listen to any of his interviews, he said he wanted to play regardless, and
I know
couldn't.
I know he's
couldn't
saying he
because
wanted to play.
Solomon
I'm
Hill dug
saying
into his knee and he couldn't play. You see LeBron, he plays through injuries all the time. You
yeah.
know
So
that,
does
Sam.
Michael. So does Michael. Michael played
I didn't
through
see.
injuries.
I didn't say he didn't, but guess what? He still took years off in order to recover his body. I mean, you look at after 1998, right? He said the same thing. My body is worn down. I don't have the same energy I used to. He took multiple years off, and then he was like, "I'll come back for the Wizards." We never talk about that. I didn't even bring that up because I don't think that's relevant because he just wasn't nearly the same player. Even though he's younger than LeBron James just was when he averaged 30 points per game. LeBron James is the oldest player to ever do that. Right? And the next highest in year 20 was 14 points per game.
The reason he came back for the Wizards was the events of 9/11. The reason he came back was he returned to play for the Wizards, and when he got paid, he donated his salary to relief efforts of the victims of 9/11. So he did it to help people. So it's not like he came to play like, oh yeah, his body was done. Yeah, he was done playing. He didn't have to do this. He could have just
He didn't have to. No.
donated all his money from his earnings from
No, and that's a really honorable thing
things.
for him to do, and I commend him, or I love that a lot for him for doing that. But he still played basketball, and we're only talking about basketball as what he did. And I love that he donated his salary. It went to a really good cause, and obviously that whole event was very tragic for America. But he still played those years. He still was younger than LeBron, who averaged 30 in his 20th season, and it's not really comparable, especially in the later years. But
I don't think he was
we're
really
only talking
playing
about
for
prime.
it.
We're only talking about prime, really, mostly, right? We're talking about early years too. But LeBron James, top scorer all time, top scorer in playoffs, top 10 in points, rebounds, assists, steals. He has so many records, way more than Jordan, and he's just a way better all-around basketball player.
But we're talking in basketball; it's a team sport.
Yeah,
We're talking about
and
what they
guess who
did
made
as a
his team better?
collective.
Guess who made
If
his
he,
team better?
if we're talking
No, we're
about
not.
Jordan
We're
made
not.
Jordan
We're talking
made
about.
team better.
Hold on. We're talking about individual players up against each other, and we're using context of the players.
No, but even if Sam wants to bring in a team sport argument,
the
like
players
Jordan had a
that
better
were
team.
that
He
they're
had a
going
better
up against.
organization.
That's what the context is. We're not comparing the Cavs versus the Bulls. We're not comparing the Cavs versus the Heat or the Bulls versus the Heat. We're comparing individual players by adding the context of who they play with and what they do.
Yeah, and
Basketball is obviously a team sport. I know.
Yeah,
but it's
and
not
if we're
sport
doing
players.
it, if we're doing it individually, then yes, LeBron has all these records. But I think if you ask LeBron what he would rather have, individual records or championships, I think he would pick championships. Michael has the championships. Never lost the finals in a game set. Never had to go to a game 7. Let's be clear. Never had to go to a game 7.
But is that because of the competition or is that because of Michael?
Are you saying Karl Malone and John Stockton and all those boys aren't good?
Steph Curry and Kevin Durant are better than both of them.
It's true.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
But the Jazz still had 2 Hall of Famers on that team. We're not taking anything away from Karl Malone or John Stockton because they were both Hall of Famers. But
And the other rights of the
the
Supersonics.
Golden State Warriors are better than any team Jordan faced in the finals, and we know that.
What about the 1990 Lakers?
Oh man, dude. Dude, that was a wash. Magic Johnson on that team, bro. Stop.
Yeah, wash Magic Johnson.
He was washed. Dude, what are you talking about? Look up the numbers.
Magic was not washed.
It's pretty clear. The reason that Jordan won all his championships because his team was the best.
Yeah, I watched Michael Magic Johnson, who averaged 19.4, 7 rebounds, and 12.5 assists. That's washed, I guess. In this thing. That's washed.
For his
That's
typical
washed.
numbers, that's washed for him.
That's washed. Damn. I don't know where we're gonna wash that nowadays, but I don't.
And how old was
almost a
Kareem?
triple-double.
How old was Kareem at that time? Oh wait. Yeah, exactly. Nothing to
Kareem
say.
wasn't even on the. Kareem
Exactly,
wasn't even on the
he
team.
wasn't even on the team because he was retired. That's what I'm saying, dude.
Okay, so James Worthy, Michael Thompson, Byron Scott, Sam Perkins, Vlade Divac, they're not good.
They're good players, but Jordan still had a better team.
Yeah. All right, we're getting off topic a little bit. Let's move on to our second question of our debate style podcast. So we're gonna start here with Sam on the first question. Does Zion Williamson want to be in New Orleans?
No.
And why is that?
We can tell. There's obvious things why Zion doesn't want to be there. We've seen it in. If Zion wanted to be there, he'd be happy. He would look more, let's say, motivated to train in the facility, with the organization, instead of going to Portland and training by himself. Like, be around your team. Like, I know, yes, I've been through injuries. I know the feeling of, like, you want to be out there helping your team, but there are different ways to help your team, be around the team, be just there to support your team. Zion didn't seem like he really wants to be in New Orleans. You saw his face when they announced the Pelicans had the first pick.
Yeah.
You saw it. He did not look happy. There was reports of him, his agent, his family talking about he wants to play in New York, play in Chicago, in a mecca of, like, big places. And when he got drafted to
In a what?
like a big marketplace,
Like the Mecca.
okay.
Mecca, which
Like a
is like
Mecca.
New York City, yeah.
New York, yeah, it's the Mecca they call it, but like a big
Oh,
marketplace. So like either
Mecca's, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So I think one, he doesn't want to be there, and I think him missing a ton of games. It's not how, like, if he could have stayed healthy over his first 4 years he's been in the league, this is a different story. Don't get me wrong, he is a generational talent. He's very good. If he can develop his jump shot, he might be unstoppable. But he's already said that he doesn't want to do that. And if you look at it,
I believe too.
oh yeah, and floater. If you look at it, his first 3 seasons in the NBA, he's only played more than 50 games once, and that's his second season in the NBA. His first season, he played 24 games. His third season, he played 29 games and didn't play anything else. You look at it, he was very good for the Pelicans. Like, he's very good. I think the direction they're going is not great. They committed a big contract to him, right? Probably not the smartest thing, because he's injury prone. You commit a big contract to him, and now you're already talking about trading him, and you're rather commit to Brandon Ingram over Zion. Bring the guy. He wants players around him to make him better. He's not going to do that in New Orleans. Like, what, bringing in a 30-something-year-old CJ McCollum's going to do the trick for you against the Steph Curry-led Warriors or a LeBron James-led Lakers team, or the up-and-coming Nuggets who smack the crap out of every team in the NBA with Jokic and Jamal? Like, it doesn't make sense. What is the organization doing? You're committing to Zion. Zion doesn't want to be there. Let's be real. Zion does not want to be there. And the whole thing is, do the Pelicans move on? Yes, they do move on. But they don't move on. There's the ways of looking at it. You either commit to Zion and you build that team around them, or you get rid of him. because he's not motivated to play there. Let's be real. Yes, Casey's gonna probably say, "Oh, he's came out and said he wants to play there. He's happy there." Guess who said the exact same thing before? Oh wait, Chris Paul, David West, and Anthony Davis. They've all said it before, and they've all asked to get out of their contract and get traded.
Okay, let me speak
That's
now.
a thing.
Let me speak now.
Go
All right,
ahead, Case.
first of all, you talked about Chris Paul. You bring up him and David West. Chris Paul actually just went on a podcast the other day and said that the only reason he left, he said he loves New Orleans and he would go back there eventually, but he said the only reason that he left is because they were told that the team was moving, and that's the only reason he left. Okay, let's get that off the record. He didn't hate New Orleans. He loved the team that was around him. He didn't need to play in a big market, okay? He said he left because he thought the team was moving, okay? First of all. Second of all, when you bring up CJ McCollum, he's not a scrub, dude. He's not a scrub.
I never said he wasn't a scrub. I never said he
Let's bring in
wasn't.
30-some-year-old CJ McCollum.
But no, I'm not calling him a scrub. But that's the best you can do. That's the best trade you can go out and get.
I let you speak. Let me speak, okay? Last year he averaged 21, 5, and 5, okay? On almost 50-40, okay? I don't know what his free throw percentage was. Now let's get to Zion, okay? Now, Zion has said on many occasions that he wants to be in New Orleans, okay? Now, you may say that when he was first drafted, he didn't want to go to New Orleans directly. And honestly, who can blame him? You know, New York is a big market. He would have gotten some really big endorsements there. It's just a big city in general. You know, he could have went to Chicago or somewhere like that as well, sure. But New Orleans is a really good place for him, and I think it will be in the future as well, because we had a young foundation that we were building along with some veterans like Drew Holiday that could teach him the ropes of being a professional, which obviously he didn't take their advice. So, but anyways, Zion said on multiple occasions, like he said at the YMCA in New Orleans, I do want to be here. That's no secret. I feel like I've stood on that when I spoke repeatedly. And that's just one quote that he said out of many that he said that he loves being in New Orleans and that he wants to be in New Orleans. Now, maybe he didn't want to be in New Orleans right when he was drafted there or when the draft lottery happened, but I think that now that he's here and he sees that the commitment that we've given to him based on other players that we brought in, like Brandon Ingram, like CJ McCollum, we still have Jonas Valanciunas, we drafted Herb Jones and Trey Murphy, and a lot of upcoming young players, right, that are on his timeline, that he sees the commitment that we've given him, along with this big contract, which you brought up the contract as well. We gave him a 5-year max extension with weight clauses in it that he has to meet, and he has been meeting, okay? And we also have certain protections which bring down his money if he doesn't meet them, so he's financially obligated to meet those. Which is some more protection for the team. It's not a bad contract. It's a really good contract for the team, and because he would average, I think his career average is 26 points per game, 7 boards, and 4 assists. I mean, on 60% shooting from the field, like, who does that? Who does that? No one does that. Now, going about his weight, you know, he is a 22-year-old kid, right? He's my age, right? And you think of it this way, right? What do you eat when you're our age, guys? You eat crap. You don't diet every single day. You don't do everything you need to do to be in optimal shape until you're older. Hold on.
You're making excuses. He has money.
Hold on. He went on Gilbert Arenas' podcast just this past week. Okay, this is what he said about dieting and weight gain. There are times when I say this is hard, and this is really hard, right? It's not because he doesn't want to be in New Orleans that he isn't playing as many games as he should be. He's admitted that. It's tough, right? He comes into shape every summer. He comes into shape, and he didn't that one season where he missed it because he broke his foot, right? That's not his fault. He was doing it playing basketball, trying to get better. But dieting isn't easy, and I mean, we live in the country with the most obesity out of any country ever, and you live in a city like New Orleans. Like, what do you expect, really? So it is tough. I wouldn't blame the missed games on him not wanting to be in New Orleans, because I think he does want to be in New Orleans. He wants to win at the place where he was drafted at. He said that multiple times, but I think it is tough for him in the weight gain area, right, and just dieting in general, because when a season's going on, he's not at home all the time. He's not with the chef. He's not eating the right things all the time, as most players did. You look at Joel Embiid when he was young, he was eating cheeseburgers right before games, and he had a big line of history issues. And Zion played more games than him in his first 4 seasons. So I think it is a dieting thing throughout the season, because he's in shape at the beginning. He gets injured, and then he doesn't get back into shape until the next season. So I think that's the main issue, not whether he wants to be in New Orleans, because I think he said multiple times that he wants to be in New Orleans.
Well, I understand that, but he has the money to be able to pay for a personal cook. He has the money to do that.
Yeah,
He does, but he does.
Going out to wherever it is to get food.
and you see,
they make it for him in his kitchen.
And like you said, and like Caleb said, like he has the money to do it. You see, like the NBA player, you see like the likes of Kobe Bryant and the likes of LeBron. They hire nutritionists, they hire personal chefs to come do that. That come on the road with them. They'll come with them. They're nutritionists. They come. They watch what they're gaining. They have these if you see a lot of these players have their own personal trainers, their own personal nutritionists, their own chefs that help them do that. Zion has the money to do that. He just isn't doing it. If it is where he's playing at, if he's even dedicated to the game of basketball anymore, does he even want to play right now? Like he has said that.
I don't know if he doesn't want to play.
He has came out and said that his body's ready. Mentally, he's not ready to play.
He does have a lot going off the field.
No,
Yeah,
he
he
wasn't.
doesn't
Sam, are you talking about the interview that was right at the end of the season before the playoffs? Is that what you're saying?
No, I thought he said this like a couple months ago.
Yeah,
it was a couple months ago.
right before the postseason, right? Is that what you're talking about when he said, "I have to feel like Zion in order to play"?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah, he wasn't in shape, dude. He wasn't ready. He was moving well. His injury was getting recovered, but he still had to get in shape, as most
No, he said he was.
do.
He said okay, then we might
He
be
said,
talking
"I'm
about different
fine
stuff.
physically, but I need to feel like
Yeah.
Zion." He was
Yeah,
not
so
in
mentally
shape.
he wasn't ready. Mentally he wasn't ready. No, then we're talking about something else, because he in a recent interview and stuff, he said that he's physically ready to play.
I know
Mentally,
exactly what you're
he's not
talking
ready to
about.
play. So that has nothing to do with him being injured or being ready to play. That is all the mental side, like and what he's thinking, what he's going through. And like Caleb said, yeah, he has been dealing with a lot of off the field stuff, and that is one issue that we can talk about. The second thing is you brought up saying Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is 7 foot. It is different for a 7 foot person when they get hurt compared to when a 6'9" player gets hurt. Yes, the weight, how big he is a factor, but when you look at it in most history, 7 foot players, they get injured a lot more than anyone else does. And you brought up saying in his first 4 years, Zion's played more. That is incorrect.
You're wrong, Sam. Look it up.
No,
Please look it up.
I am. I'm looking at it right now. In 2016, 2017, Joel Embiid played 31 games. Yes, that's low. That's more than Zion in his first season.
Wait. Say that number. How many games?
31.
Okay,
Joel Embiid played 31. His second season played 63. His third season 64. His fourth season 51. His sixth season 51.
Sam,
Seventh
he
season
got drafted
68.
in 2014, dude. He got drafted in 2014. His first 2 seasons, he didn't even play a single game. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay, so we count that. We don't count that.
You
We look
count
at
that.
what
You
he's
don't count.
played.
You don't count year 6 or 7, dude. You count
His rookie
Euro
season.
games
That's
first
when we talk
season,
about his
Euro
rookie-
games second season. You said 31 in year 3.
If you miss a season, does that count as a season? No, it doesn't, because that's why Chet Holmgren
so Zion's third
is
year.
able to be on the
Zion's
rookie
third year,
ballot,
he
'cause
didn't make
play.
it. So Zion's third year, it shouldn't count because he didn't play a
No,
single
Zion
game.
played. Zion played his first
His
season in the NBA.
third season, he didn't play. So are you not counting that season?
No, his third. He played 29 games in his third season.
No, he didn't. That was this year, his 4th season.
2022, 2023.
Yeah, that's this season, bud.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
21 and 22, he didn't play a
he
single
didn't play.
game.
Yeah, he
So you
didn't play
counting
in that
that?
season. So 3 season, yeah. You look at his 3 season he actually played. You don't count the season he didn't play in. You count Joel Embiid, because the way how it works is if you miss a season, it doesn't really count, because If
Race,
it did count,
that's why
Chet
he doesn't,
Holmgren can't be on the be in line for a rookie of the year this year.
Yes,
So
he can.
you look.
He's going to be. He's in the rookie of the year race this year. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
he's
saying. That's what I'm
okay.
saying.
So, but you're saying last
Can't
year
count.
didn't
You
count?
don't.
So
Last year didn't count because he didn't play a single minute.
So it wasn't a year in the NBA though, because he trained with the
pretty
staff
much
the whole year.
yeah.
He was with the team the whole year, but it's not a year in the NBA. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because you didn't play a single minute in the NBA. You did not. You can be in the league, but you didn't play a single minute in the NBA.
He's in the league.
That's why
he's in the league, as I said.
Okay, then why? Then he should. So if we're counting that as playing in the NBA, then Chet Holmgren should not be on the Rookie of the Year ballot because he's already in the league. He was drafted. He was with the team. He was with the organization.
I don't think so either. I don't think they should be in the Rookie of the Year. This goes back to Ben Simmons versus Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan Mitchell should have won that because Ben Simmons had missed the first year of his career. Like I don't get this argument where the NBA thinks, oh, just because it's their first year playing, it shouldn't matter because they had a full year of NBA training under their belt, which most players who are in college don't have that type of level of playing, or even dietitians that are around the team, or resources in general. Like I don't think it's fair to say Chet Holmgren should win Rookie of the Year because he was around an NBA franchise for a full year. He should win it, but he might not. That's just not how it works always. You look at Ben Simmons as an example. He averaged, 16, 8, and 8 in his first season? Whereas Donovan Mitchell, in his true first season out of Louisville, averaged 20 points per game, almost 21 points per game. Like, he should have won it. Donovan Mitchell should. And I don't like this rule where, because I missed one season or two seasons, the full season. My rookie season is my third year in the league. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and it is a stupid rule. Like I'm not saying.
You agree with that? You agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. But if you look at if we are comparing Zion's first 3 seasons he played to Joel's first 3 seasons he played, Joel played more games. That's what I'm trying to get at here. And like you said, they built around him. Like you said, Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram was already there when Zion came, so he was just there already. If I'm
by like a month, he hadn't played on the team at that point. They traded Anthony Davis about a month before they drafted Zion. So,
if you look at it, no, not a month. It was about a few months.
It might have been like a week or so, or 2 weeks. Yeah, it was not that much before the draft.
Ingram he was traded.
Might have been after the draft, honestly. It might have been after because I think Zion might be our longest tenured player.
He was traded July 6, 2019.
Yeah, and the draft is in June, so.
Yeah. And then back to it. What I was saying. If I'm the Pelicans, with pretty much ever since Zion's come to New Orleans, and you can, if you agree or not, it's been one thing after another in the media with if it's injuries, if it's off the field, off the court stuff, and stuff like that. Would you say that it's just been one thing after the other?
Yeah, 100%. And I don't give Zion a pass for that, especially the off the court stuff, and that's something in itself. But when it comes to basketball, it has been one thing after the other, injury wise. But it's mostly just been injury. It's not like he's been saying the wrong things in the media or portraying himself in a bad way or anything like that. He's been a good dude. It's just been he can't diet, he can't be in shape, and therefore he can't play when his weight comes down.
As an organization, do you think it is time to move on?
No. Zion's at his lowest value that he's been since he's been in the league right now, and that's because he's been injured for so many of his career, so much of his career so far. So if we were to trade him now at his lowest point, he's a career 26 point per game scorer in his first 4 seasons in the league. He's only 22 years old. Why would we give him up? It makes zero sense to me why we'd even think of it. Because maybe you trade him when he plays a full season and his value is super high and he asks out. Sure, we do that. But if he doesn't and he plays, why would we trade him? It makes no sense to me. We don't get generational talents in New Orleans. Like, you just don't do that in the small market. Yeah.
That is true. But my thing is, you commit all this money to him, and let's say in a year or two he decides he's done playing basketball. He's done. He can't take it anymore. He's done. He quits. You just gave him that much money a couple years, like last year, and now he's done. And his track history is not good for him. He hasn't played much. You're committing all this money where you can commit it to somewhere else. You can try to make a big signing. You can make a big trade or something to bring and build around Brandon Ingram, who has the track history of being reliable, being able to play out there. He is a franchise player. He can be a franchise player.
Yeah, I agree.
You're taking a huge gamble on Zion, who I love watching play at Duke. I'm a big fan of him. It's just his track record doesn't show it. And yes, like with your NBA team, you're committed, you're diehard, you want them to succeed. And honestly, I will say, Chicago had the same issue back when Derrick Rose was on the team. He was one of the most athletic point guards the game has seen in a while. He could have been, if he didn't get hurt and had all that injury issues, could have been one of the best point guards in the league. People will say we haven't seen that John Morant athleticism since Derrick Rose. The injury, we gave him that huge contract. We committed to him, and then he gets hurt and then has those injury seasons, and it was time to move on. We moved on. I think we moved on at the right time. I think the problem is I can see the Pelicans waiting and dealing him when it's too late. I think this year or next year is prime time to see what the Pelicans do, where they're at by middle of the season, and evaluate and see if Zion's even played. If he hasn't even played, then I think you move on. I don't think in maybe a year or two, I don't think Zion's going to be still with the New Orleans.
So I have a few issues with your argument. First of all, we don't get free agents in New Orleans. Like, that's not a thing. We're not Chicago. We don't just trade away salary and bring in players. So we don't do that, okay? Second of all, Zion is still productive, right? When Derrick Rose got injured, he wasn't as productive as he once was, right? And Zion is still putting up the same numbers he has his whole career, right? And I don't think we trade him just because he gets injured for a few of his first few seasons. He's going to be able to diet better as time goes on. He's going to be more mature as time goes on. I don't think it's the right time to even consider moving on from him because of his value. Now, if he were to request out, that's a different story. But I don't think that it's happening because I think he wants to win in New Orleans. Another thing, we also have contract protections tied to games played and weight clauses, as I brought up earlier, whereas the Chicago Bulls didn't. And that's why they needed to get off his salary, because otherwise they were paying whatever that max salary was. Huh?
They didn't have to worry about Derrick Rose being out of shape.
But he wasn't playing games. Either way, it's not playing games, right? Regardless of what actually happened, right? And when
he only missed really 2 seasons.
But even if, let's say, your crazy scenario where Zion stops playing after 2 seasons, we have protections against that, right? So if he does that, that does happen, he's off the books. We can waive him, right? Unlike the Bulls couldn't do that for Derrick Rose. So.
Okay. So our time kind of went over a little bit on those 2 debates, so I think we'll save the third question for the first question of next week's podcast. A lot of good discussion, very interesting. So on those 2 debate questions, guys, comment in the comment section who you think won the debate, what your thoughts are, what they could have said differently. So yeah. Guys, anything you want to add before we head off?
No, I think this is a good debate. I had a really fun time talking with Skell about some of, his wrong takes, but, that's it.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun. I thought it was a good change-up. Hopefully we can do this something with, like, soccer in the near future. It was fun listening to Casey's points, and most of them were wrong, but I didn't feel that Derrick Rose slander didn't need to happen, but it's whatever. It's a nice, healthy debate, but hopefully we can do this with some soccer content here soon and more basketball content. So look out for all of our stuff on Spotify. Basketball should be out soon, today or tomorrow. We will be getting up our videos for YouTube soon. Just hang on. You can go and check out our first 2 episodes we ever made on the channel, Net to Net Podcast on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Net to Net Podcast and Twitter at Net to Net Podcast. And we'll see you all soon.
Peace.